Develop Project Charter. According to the PMBOK guide, Develop Project Charter is the process of developing a document that formally authorizes the existence of a project and provides the project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to project activities. A project charter is the very first piece of official document for a project. Preparing a useful project charter requires gathering a good bit of information about the project's purpose and its expected benefits to the organization. The PMBOK guide identifies the following inputs, tools and techniques and outputs for the Develop Project Charter process. In the next screen, we will discuss these inputs in more detail. Business case demonstrates the project's value to the organization. Such value can be judged by metrics such as financial, example, increased revenue, expense reduction, etc. Non-financial metrics such as customer loyalty, innovation, etc. The agreement is an input to the project charter for a project based on a contractual obligation. Agreements can take the form of contracts, memorandum of understanding, letter of intent, or other written agreements. Its content generally include the contract statement of work or contractual requirements, terms, and conditions. Enterprise environmental factors are internal factors such as organizational structure and human resource capabilities, and external factors such as competition and regulations. These factors might constrain or guide how a project is chartered. Organizational process assets include policies, procedures, templates, and prior project documentation that organizations use to manage projects in a consistent way. In the next screen, we will discuss tools and techniques used to develop project charter. You will notice that expert judgment is the primary technique for all the project integration management processes. Expert judgment is defined as judgment provided based upon expertise in an application area, knowledge area, discipline, industry as appropriate for the activity being performed. Such expertise may be provided by any group or person with specialized education, knowledge, skill, experience, or training. Think about the type of expertise you might need for developing a project charter. Who could help you? What kind of knowledge would they need? You should consider resources both internal to the organization and external to the organization. Data gathering techniques that can be used as input for this process include brainstorming techniques, which is used by participants to discuss and generate new ideas on a given topic. It is the most common and frequently used technique to gather information and create new ideas. Focus groups bring together stakeholders and subject matter experts to learn about the perceived project risk, success criteria, and other topics in a more conversational way than a one-to-one interview. Focus groups are usually conducted by a trained moderator. The key to this tool lies in picking the subject matter experts and stakeholders to participate in the focus group. Interviews are used to obtain information on high-level requirements, assumptions or constraints, approved criteria, and other information from stakeholders by talking directly to them. Interviews may take the form of one-on-one meetings, emails, and conference calls. It requires planning, organization, and control during interviews. Project managers must have excellent interpersonal and team skills that can be used for this process. Conflict management is the ability to resolve conflict on the project. Facilitation is the ability to effectively guide a group event to a successful decision, solution, or conclusion. Meeting management is taking steps to ensure meetings meet their intended objectives effectively and efficiently. Meetings are held with key stakeholders to identify the project objectives, success criteria, key deliverables, high-level requirements, summary milestones, and other summary information. Each meeting requires an agenda, with the defined list of issues to be discussed in a time frame circulated in advance and a leader to guide the meeting. After the meeting is over, minutes of the meetings and other information must be documented and shared with the meeting attendees for their comment and approval, and then to the other stakeholders according to the communication plan. Next, we will discuss the outputs of this process. After all this information gathering and analysis, you can start to document information in an organized fashion. The project charter is created. The project charter documents the business objectives, assumptions, constraints, understanding of the customer's needs, risks, and high-level requirements for the new product, service, or result which are identified during the previous tasks. The charter includes necessary information on why we need the project and the objectives of the project. In some organizations, you see high-level assumptions about scope, resources, funding, approach, and other project variables. It might also include the constraints, which are the initial limitations such as a fixed due date or budget. In others, you might see an assumption or constraint log that would start with the high-level assumptions during project initiation. Assumptions can and do change throughout the course of the project, and the process of identifying and prioritizing risks may require updates to the assumptions. For a charter to be effective, it should address these essential elements. Purpose: project reason or justification stating the business need. Value: measurable project goals, objectives, and related success criteria. Scope: description of the project, high-level requirements, and project boundaries. Risk: high-level risks, assumptions, and constraints captured to be monitored in order to reduce the chances of their becoming an issue or a realized risk. Schedule: summary milestone schedule, high-level roadmap. Cost: summary of allocated budget or available funding. Stakeholders: list of key stakeholders whose approval is required before the project can start or end. Approvals: project approvals requirements, success criteria, decision markers, and closure sign-offs. Project exit criteria, which are the conditions to be met in order to close or to cancel the project or phase. Resources: role and responsibilities of the assigned project manager, sponsor, or another person authorizing the project charter and the team who will perform the tasks. Authorizations: name of the sponsors and other executives authorizing the project and their signatures. It could further include quality, which is the measure of defects and deviations, and benefits realization, which is a set of processes needed to ensure projects deliver a meaningful and sustainable value. At a high level, the project charter ensures a common understanding by the stakeholders of the key deliverables, milestones, and the roles and responsibilities of everyone involved in the project.